Hey guys, welcome to another Game Explained discussion. I'm your host, Andre Seegers, and this time we're joined by Derek Bittner and Ash Paulson to discuss all the latest Nintendo NX rumors. So let's get started. Alright guys, we have a few different rumors here to discuss, one of which we've already reported on, and the first one came to us from Let's Play Video Games, who reported that according to their sources, a couple different sources, they've heard that on top of the Nintendo NX having detachable controllers, it would also support force feedback in them, as well as motion controls along the Wii. And I should mention too that the force feedback they mentioned is actually closer to the Vive according to what they've heard, which is pretty cool considering the Vive actually has more nuanced force feedback, which really helps immerse you in the experience. Now since that report, which we already posted a video on, Emily Rogers has since come out and built upon these rumors. First off, she said that what they reported she's heard is also true. But on top of this, she mentioned that she's hearing that the NX screen, at least based on the prototype, is a 6.2-inch screen, is 720p, and has multi-touch, which is in stark contrast to, like, say, the gamepads or the 3DS's resistive single-touch touchscreen. On top of this, she also mentioned that the dock that was reported by Eurogamer has 2 USB ports built in, and I guess actually that's basically it. She also verified that what MCV had reported earlier about Game Freak working on the game for the NX also is true. So I thought there's enough here for us to finally discuss all this, rather than doing another update video on just the new rumors. So I guess we should start off here with what do you guys think about this? Any thoughts on these latest batch of rumors?
I think to a comment you showed me earlier today from a couple of the people, people from my update, about how every time there's a new NX rumor, a piece of Derek's soul dies. And that just feels true at this point. But as concepts, these are, of course, exciting, but all the rumors are exciting. The potential of these could go thing. Force feedback, that'd be great to see, especially since the idea of the Let's Play Video Games one is to basically cycle out the Wii Remote, which, to be honest, they need to do. They can't have controllers from that long ago still going. I don't even think I've seen a Wii Remote on store shelves in quite a while. Not that I've actively looked for them, but I have to imagine they're probably getting a little harder to find.
Well, I don't think anyone's actively looking for them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So there's no reason for them to continue to support this. So making these detachable controllers work like this does make sense. And all kind of works well. As far as the screen, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that's the thing with these rumors. It's like, yeah, they kill me a little bit inside, but they are things I can totally see happening. Are they actually going to happen? No. but I do think that there's a lot of potential in these ideas.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think anything in this report is really crazy out of the ordinary or, pie in the sky. Crazy. I think this is all seems like it's going to happen, and especially the part about the detachable controllers having force feedback. I mean, that makes sense as kind of an ideal way to kind of start phasing out Wii Remotes. I do think that the thing about existing Wii Remotes working with some games and not others is a little, I don't know, that seems very un-Nintendo-like for them to even do that and even bother with that, but yeah, I think having the detachable controllers having force feedback is a good way to kind of start phasing out the standard Wii Remotes.
Wait, sorry, I'm a bit confused there. Was that part of the rumor about it not...
Yes. Yeah, there's a bit of the rumor. I didn't exactly cover it in my update, but there is a little bit in there saying that how some of the games would support the Wii Remote for a limited time, which I think is actually kind of a Nintendo thing to do, Ash, because the Smash Brothers GameCube adapter wants to say hi. And all the use it got beyond that one game.
I mean, that's true, but isn't that kind of a slightly different concept? I mean that Smash is kind of its own thing because it has this weird legacy where its fan base really prefers this one controller. I feel like that's not something they do for every game.
True, but it also doesn't seem like they would hurt that much in order to have a regular Wii Remote work like this, rather than if they don't want to go whole hog onto the force feedback ideas, that they can just, like, here's the regular Wii Remote. You don't have to buy an extra control. Well, I guess it would come with it. You don't have to. Well, either way, you don't have to buy extra controllers, and you don't have to worry about less feedback. You just get slightly less feedback. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. It sounds strange for them to say. I mean, you have this controller which will maybe work with some of our games for a while, and maybe not. I mean, of course, this is also a rumor, so that this could be one of those things where it's based in truth, but it's kind of been misreported from person to person, so maybe it doesn't sound quite as, real as it originally did. So, I mean, yeah, nothing in this report really stands out to me as being impossible. So, yeah, I think this all sounds pretty agreeable.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the motion controls and the feedback, or the force feedback, is almost like a no-brainer. I mean, as soon as we heard about the detachable controllers, it felt like to me that almost confirmed the fact that we have motion controls and force feedback built in. I mean, why wouldn't you? Everything has motion controls built in these days. The DualShock does. Yeah, it's really not that big of a surprise. What I actually find more interesting is the further rumors from Emily, where she mentioned the screen size. Because a 6.2-inch screen is pretty big for a portable device. We're talking, that's the exact same size as a gamepad, and the gamepad isn't really that portable by itself. I mean, it is. You can throw it in the bag easily enough. It's just not like, you're not going to be putting that in your pocket. And I think that is a very interesting direction for the NX, going off this hybrid idea. Because it shows, I think it shows to me, it almost seems like Nintendo is kind of, assuming this is true again, I want to stress that, who knows if any of this is true or not. But going off this idea, it seems to me like Nintendo is going less for the 3DS market and more of the tablet market. Like more of a portable console, if you will, than something you're going to throw in your pocket. And I think, maybe I'm extrapolating a little bit too much from this, but I think it makes sense. I don't think I think the handheld market is eroding, like for dedicated devices. I myself don't carry my 3DS around me at all anymore. I only play the 3DS at home. Like if I'm going anywhere, I just take my phone with me. So I think it makes sense for Nintendo to position this as more of a console type experience, where, especially if you can just plug it into any TV really. I think it makes sense for them to focus on this being a larger device, one that's less portable, but is still easily enough to be taken with you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and it kind of ties into that idea that they put forth about Nintendo's mobile titles working on it. So, you could easily see a much more tablet-like device being able to play Pokemon Go, Miitomo, the future Animal Crossing and Fire Emblem games, and it all kind of works in that odd way. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit bigger, but look how big the XL has gotten over the years. Like, that does not easily fit in a pocket. I can tell you that from walking around at conventions. It's one of those things where it kind of makes sense to go bigger. People expect bigger screens now. It's not the age where we were going tinier and tinier like we were with cell phones before the iPhone. And to see it, to see them shift like that and go for a bigger screen is rather interesting, because, I mean, having that fidelity is really the first time we've seen Nintendo do that sort of thing at all, because that's sort of been Sony's idea with the PSP and Vita, to just go as graphically intensive as possible on a handheld. So we'll see exactly what they come up with here.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting perspective, Andre, because I, of course, I do take my 3DS with me everywhere, because I just don't find, if I'm standing in a long line at the post office or something, there's just, not as much I want to play on my phone as there, I could be catching up on a 3DS game. So I actually do keep it with me. But I agree with you, though, that Nintendo's probably targeting people less like me and more like you. And that, people who carry around tablet-like devices or larger phones and things like that. So I think the comparison to the Wii U gamepad size is an interesting one, although I think it's important to note that the Wii U gamepad was designed from the ground up not to be taken with you as a handheld or a portable console, but to be used at home, and is designed accordingly. I think with the NX, it's going to have to be, even though the screen is possibly 6 inches, they would have had to figure out some ways to pare down the size of the device, because the Wii U gamepad, while it is technically kind of portable, it's so thick and chunky that there's really it doesn't really work as a portable device, and there's no way that they could release the NX in this day and age with these super thin smartphones and super light pieces of tech. There's no way they could release the NX and have it be anywhere near as large as the gamepad. It has to be smaller. So I think I think they're definitely going to be going for a different overall vibe than what we have with the gamepad.
Yeah, I feel like the day and age where people use their, people used to play the Game Boy in short bursts, no matter where they were, right? Like, it used to be what phones are today, where, if, as you mentioned, when you're standing in line, you won't play a 3DS game. I totally get that. I just feel like that's kind of a dying market, because it's just much easier to bring out your phone and play their, albeit much crappier games, for lack of a better term. That's just my perspective. They're time wasters. It's much easier to waste your time on a phone, whereas I feel like going for a larger device, potentially, as with, the gamepad, is something that lends itself better to longer form gameplay sessions, like if you're on a train or something, or in the back of a car, you know what I mean? So I think it makes sense for them to target a bigger device. As for if it's going to be truly the gamepad size or not, I don't know, but if they are going for it as being a if this really is a hybrid, it's going to be more comfortable than a 3DS even. So I don't know if I would rule out something being the size of the gamepad necessarily. But, who knows?
Maybe. I mean, I think it would at least have to be thinner. I can't see them releasing what's meant to be a portable console and have it as thick and chunky as the Wii U gamepad, because that thing doesn't fit comfortably into a bag. I mean, I guess a big bag it does, but it doesn't, the shape of it and the weight and just the overall design, it isn't really well suited to being portable, and it certainly wouldn't fit, anything that even looks like that, even a smaller version of it, it's so thick it wouldn't fit comfortably in any pocket.
Well, and that might be where the detachable controllers come in, because maybe the controllers themselves would provide the heft or the form factor you need, whereas the screen portion itself could be much thinner than what it is on the gamepad.
That's true. I wonder how people would feel. Well, I do know. I don't wonder. I do know how people would feel if, to make it more portable, you detach the controllers, which I assume is where all the face buttons and the D-pad and analog sticks would be, leaving you essentially with a touch-only device. And even if the screen is capacitive, I don't think a lot of long-time Nintendo fans are going to be very happy with the idea of a portable console that's touch-only, essentially. That seems very smartphone-ish to me, and while that makes sense in the grand scheme of things, I feel like core gamers might recoil at that.
It's very possible. I mean, I can see myself also being that way, because I'm not a fan of playing games with just touch controls. It's just, I lose that tactile feeling. But again, as you said, most iPhone, games on phones are time wasters. You don't get that intensiveness. Even comparing it to the shortest kind of play sessions you can have on a 3DS, where it's going to be at least 15 minutes. It's very different.
Wait, what 3DS games are you playing that the shortest burst of time you can play is 15 minutes?
Well, as far as getting a complete experience. So, like, if you play, like, I've been playing Federation Force, so a single mission can take you, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. So you get that one, you squeeze out that one mission, but you also need Wi-Fi for that, so it's not exactly portable in that idea. So it is kind of an odd thing, because the 3DS games aren't quite as portable as they used to be. Especially with all the Wi-Fi gaming and everything else that is available on it.
I mean, that's a good point. I mean, we've seen that shift from Nintendo. I mean, they've even been porting home console experiences now, such as Hyrule Warriors, or perhaps the ultimate example being Xenoblade Chronicles, which is as far away from the typical or what you would think of a handheld game originally, or what they used to be.
Yeah, we'll see what they do. I can see them at least shrinking it a little bit from that 6 inches, so we'll see.
Yeah, I can too. 6 inches does seem to be a little large just in general. I mean, even the iPhone Plus sizes, I think, have a 5.1 inch screen, so that's already a pretty large phone, comparable to most Android phones in size, and that is already kind of too large for one-handed use unless you have really, really big gorilla hands. And so I feel like with the NX, if it's going to go even an inch larger than that, according to this rumor, then it has to be meant to always be a two-handed device. It can't be meant to be used as a phone, or used like a phone, I should say.
That's what I fully expect at this point now. I think they're going all in on it being almost a portable console in a handheld form factor. I think they're going to make it as big as they can, while still making it essentially be portable. Something you can throw in your bag, just not something you throw in your pocket. It's something that'll be for longer play sessions when you want to play games outside the house, but not necessarily like when you're in line at Starbucks or something.
Mm-hmm. Right, but then that doesn't even try to capture the smartphone market. So do you think they're just going to completely ignore that with the NX and just be like, eh? Because, I mean, that really doesn't go after the smartphone using market at all.
Well, yeah, I guess it gets back to how they're going to use that screen, as you mentioned, when it's detached from the controllers. Yeah, I actually do expect them not to focus on that, even though I think that was in one of the earlier rumors. I can't even keep track of all these rumors anymore.
I know, right?
I mean, I feel like the smartphone market is for, that exists already for mobile games. I wouldn't be surprised if Nintendo supports their own mobile games if you want as an option. I don't think they're going to focus on that. I don't think it makes sense. Nintendo can't compete with smartphones. That is ultimately what it comes down to. They can't replace them. You can't compete with them. The only way they can exist as a supplementary device. And I think for that reason, they're going to focus on making it the best possible device it can be without trying to step on the phone or step on the toes of smartphones.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it makes sense to me. I think they really have to focus on making sure, they need to go as large as they can, but they also have to make sure it's the kind of device that people are going to want to take with them.
Yeah, I mean, it's a balancing act, right?
Yeah,
I just feel like
really is.
I feel like they are well past the point, though, of anything close to the 3DS in size. I don't think that would offer the kind of compelling experience for people to play over their phone these days. So that's why I think going larger makes sense for Nintendo, especially with this hybrid approach where the type of games they're going to be making probably are going to have to be closer to the console side and focus as well. Not across the board necessarily, just in general, I would expect.
No, that's true. It's going to be weird carrying around a Nintendo device that doesn't have a clamshell design with two screens.
Yeah.
That alone is just going to be really strange.
Been a few years.
Yeah. I do think too it's interesting that they are going with going by the rumor, a multi-touch touchscreen, which I would think suggests they're going with a capacitive touchscreen versus a resistive they've typically used. Even though I know there technically are resistive, there's tech out there where you can do multi-touch on resistive touchscreens. But I think at this point it makes sense for Nintendo to move on to capacitive. I just think it's a lot more elegant, especially with how Nintendo's been using touchscreens more recently, where they primarily have been using it without the need of a stylus. Not entirely, but they use it for like touchscreens a lot of the time, or just for simple like dragging and drop interfaces. So, and I think too that shows like Nintendo changing and getting with the times, where this needs to look like a contemporary device. And I think going with the technology they've used with the gamepad and 3DS would go against that. Like, it makes it feel like old tech. So I think this is promising. Like, I think this is, like, across the board, this shows Nintendo reacting to the current state of the market and making a device that, I mean, hopefully people will want. We don't know what the exact form factor is going to be, but I'm hoping this is something that people will see and be like, hey, that looks cool. I want to use it.
Now, as somebody that's not really tech savvy at all, Emily also mentioned that the prototype for the dock station had 2 USB ports. That's what she heard, but she doesn't know what the number would change. How vital are those USB ports, considering the fact that I don't think I use my USB ports for anything other than my using a external hard drive for my games?
Derek, you forgot. Oh my God, what is wrong with you? They are essential, because, especially if the fact there's 2. Because the GameCube adapter uses 2. So, there...
That's the first thing. And I was also going to say that I use, for my PS4, I'm always using at least one of the USB ports because of the Pulse headphones. I actually have long really wanted a viable wireless headphone option for Wii U, just so I can play Wii U games, late at night without disturbing my wife if she's sleeping. And with PS4, I can do that. And with, Wii U, they don't really make dedicated headphones for that. So I'm hoping with NX having 2, if that's true, having 2 USB ports, if someone releases some headphones for them, I'm all about that. So I would say, aside from the GameCube controllers for Smash, which obviously is a huge deal to me, there are plenty of other things that really necessitate USB ports. Hard drives, like you said, Derek, headphones, like I said, there's also wireless keyboards. I mean, there are so many things you can do with USB functionality that you really can't without.
Well, no, I mean, they have wireless headphones. There's Bluetooth keyboards. Pretty much everything is wireless these days.
Oh, no, that's true. I mean, even my PS4 headphones, they're also wireless. It's just they work with they communicate via a USB dongle that you plug into the PS4.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So, yeah.
So, I mean, you brought up an interesting point, because I think, normally I would agree with you. In this case, though, because of it being a hybrid and presumably the focus, or not, I shouldn't say focus, but it's coming in a handheld form factor, I think that's actually going to greatly limit what they can do with those USB ports. I don't think they can use it for like a hard drive, for instance, because you need everything accessible when you take it with you on the go. So I think in this case it's going to be used strictly for accessories like that you would use when playing in a home console environment, like the GameCube adapter, or, as another example, Rock Band type style instruments if they come around for the NX.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't expect too much really beyond that, just because it has to also work as a handheld.
Well, I remember. I think the rumor does say that the USB ports are supposed to be in the base station. So I was never even assuming that this would have anything to do with the portable functionality.
Well, that's what I mean, though. That's why a hard drive wouldn't work. You can have a
hard drive wouldn't. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I guess maybe a hard drive wouldn't, unless they find some way to partition what is stored on the NX base station versus the NX handheld. Then maybe that would work.
God, that'd be a disaster, though. If you have to, like, transfer stuff between the two to play it on the go, like, it has to be that if they are positioning this as a hybrid, it has to be you pick up your NX and you take on the go. You can't be transferring files.
Although, to be fair, I will say that Sony's solution for, transferring things to and from the PS Vita, through your PS3 or PS4, is actually really elegant. So it's not, I feel like those aren't uncharted waters. I mean, Sony's pretty good job with that.
Because of Vita.
Oh, wow, yeah. Yeah, I feel like it's not unheard of to, Sony has already kind of come up with an elegant solution with the Vita. So
and how successful was the Vita?
Well, that's true, but that's not because of its functionality with the PS3 sucking. It's because it was just undermarketed. Games weren't released enough for. I mean, it didn't perform well at market.
Right.
But I don't think you can point to its functionality with the PS3 as being why.
I mean, I see what you're saying. I'm sure there are. I wouldn't doubt it being elegant for what it is. Mm-hmm. I just think that any amount of hassle between the NX existing as a home console or existing as a console versus taking with you on the go is going to be a huge barrier and potentially a huge problem. I don't think people want to deal with any kind of interface of having to transfer stuff back and forth. Anything that's a potential barrier to taking it with you on the go is a big problem for Nintendo. So that's why I don't think they'll go that route and have it exist. Anything you can use on your NX, like memory-wise, will exist on the NX itself.
So they're going to need a pretty massive hard drive in that case, if you're going by that theory.
Potentially, yeah. I mean, hard drive, SD card expansion.
They're really going to have to figure out a way to find some sort of onboard storage solution, because one of the biggest things that undercut the Wii U at release were the ridiculous 8GB and 32GB options. The fact that you didn't have an option for even 100 gigabytes, like even any three-figure number at all, like they can't do that in 2016 or 2017. Like they cannot release the NX with an 8GB option of onboard storage.
Yeah, I mean that's
just
for sure.
Not going to work.
I mean, especially if they want to sell games digitally, right? Like you don't want people to not have that ability unless you want to limit your sales, which wouldn't make sense to me.
Exactly. I mean, even back when the Wii U launched, there were people who couldn't. There were people who bought the Wii U Basic with 8 gigs who couldn't download, I think, Nintendo Land because the system software took like 5 gigs. And then Nintendo Land was like slightly more. I don't know the exact numbers, but my point is you couldn't download all the launch games you wanted to, or even really one launch game in some cases.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that is a good point. This is going to be very, very interesting how they handle this, because there are small hard drives that exist that offer a large amount of capacity, but they're also expensive. So it is going to be interesting to see how Nintendo balances this. Maybe they'll have like a hard drive slot you can buy a secondary hard drive for on top of whatever amount of built-in memory they provide. Who really knows? Like I really just want to know what this is and see how they're going to work with this.
Maybe they'll make it so that whatever hard drives already work with your Wii U they'll probably have to be reformatted, but can be reformatted and repurposed for the NX, so you don't have to go out and buy a new one if you already did.
But again, it gets back to, for me, the issue of having to transfer stuff back and forth.
Oh, no, I totally agree. It's not an elegant solution. I'm just trying to, come up with something that makes sense for Nintendo in this scenario. But yeah, I mean, because with the rumors we currently have, we still don't really know how Nintendo plans to address hard drive storage or storage in general. So, that part to me is still a big question mark, and they screwed that part up so much with the Wii U that it's that specifically is very important to me, how they handle this with the NX.
So I guess the final part of all this, and I forget if we discussed this on a Real Talk before or not, but is Emily's backing up the idea that Game Freak is making a Pokemon game for the NX, which is interesting because I believe we looked into this before this discussion, Derek, and Game Freak has only really made mainstream Pokemon games, right?
Correct. They've only handled the main series, while other developers have taken care of all the side, all the side games and whatnot. And it makes no sense for a Pokemon game to show up within 6 months of the NX launch, Sun and Moon coming out this November. The only way that works is if there's a specific NX port. And she did say that the rumors were partially true, which tells me that we could maybe expect, if these rumors are true, a version of Sun and Moon on the NX.
What about the possibility of it being the third version, like the Pokemon Yellow or Crystal? More specifically, Pokemon Eclipse.
I mean, we did bring this up, I think, during one of the podcasts, and I think that is the common idea, is Pokemon Eclipse for a third version. That is.
Oh, is that actually an idea? I just came up with that, so.
You just
I thought it was so original.
Nope.
I was going to say Pokemon Earth myself.
Nah, that's dumb. I like it much better. No, but the thing is, the time frame does make sense. So let's say March is when the game comes out. 6 months out of that, I think, is around October, November, which is traditionally when new Pokemon games are put out, and it's not the first time that they've put a third version of one of their games on the more advanced consoles. Granted, this was years ago, where Pokemon Crystal came out for Game Boy Color and took advantage of a lot of its things. So it's been a while since they've done that, but depending on how easy it is, how much they upgrade, what they do, exactly what the plans are, it's possible we could see a third version, which would be a brilliant way to sell the NX.
Yeah, that's for sure.
It really would, and I honestly would be all in for something like that. I think the idea of either a port of Pokemon Sun and Moon or the third version for NX, where you can play on your TV and play it as a console game and then take it with you and play on the go. That sounds so exciting to me, because I'm super late on this, but I finally got back to playing Pokemon Alpha Sapphire. So I've been kind of slowly working on that again, like in line at the post office. And it really is the kind of game where you can just, you can stop anytime. You can play it for like a minute and put it away, and it's fine. But to be able to come home and then play it on my TV, I'd be, especially with better visuals, like if this is an HD version or quote unquote HD, I'd be so down with that.
Well, according to the rumor too that Emily posted, it is a 720p screen, so at least, so it is HD at the least, and it may play even higher resolutions on the TV. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, you're right. That would look cool, especially with the upgrades we've already seen to Sun and Moon. Imagining them running with that even further for the NX port or version or whatever. Could be quite beautiful. And
people have been clamoring for a mainline Pokemon game on console for years.
This is how you do it.
This is how you. If this is what they're doing, I think this is how you do it. Yeah.
Yeah. It makes a lot of sense in a lot of ways. It's just a matter of whether Game Freak can pull it off. But they do these Pokemon games on a yearly basis almost. It's very rare where there's a year without Pokemon. So I could easily see that happening.
We'll see. So, guys, any final thoughts? How are you feeling? How are you feeling on the NX so far, based on these rumors?
Just trepidatious, I guess.
Trepidatious,
I'm excited.
huh? Yeah.
Excited, but trepidatious, just because I don't know what to. We've had so many rumors, and we've had so many different points of reference to draw upon when talking about the NX, but we still don't know what this damn thing actually really is.
It's true.
I think we have a lot of different ideas, and I think we can kind of cobble together a somewhat accurate picture of what the NX will probably turn out to be, but I still feel like we don't have the whole picture, and I feel like there are going to be things about this device that we're not expecting or that we didn't necessarily guess beforehand. So I just want to know what it is already. Just come on, let's do it.
Right?
My expectations are pretty much zero at this point.
Wow.
And that's for my own sake, nothing against the console itself, because all these rumors kind of make it seem like a dream machine, and has really raised people's expectations. Even though Nintendo has said very little about what this console could be or what this idea is for the NX, there's all these rumors and speculation and everything else surrounding it, which is definitely part of their fault because they have not showed the damn thing. So now speculation is just running rampant. But that also, because people become so accustomed to these rumors, they also just sort of get used to the idea of these being fact. So if it comes out and does not have some of these features or an idea that people really wanted, all of a sudden that's Nintendo's fault for not having that feature in place. And that's why I have zero expectation. I look at these rumors, I see how they could be possible, but I don't put any major clout behind them whatsoever, because it could easily be put in there. It could easily not.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad way of looking at it. I mean, I definitely give these rumors clout based on the sources of these rumors as well as what I've heard. With that said, I also, if we get something else, that's fine too, assuming it's good. What we've heard so far, I think, is interesting. I mean, we've talked before, I'm sure, I can't even keep track of all we've talked about now, about how, at least for me, I think it makes so much sense for Nintendo to combine their consoles and handheld market, especially because in Nintendo's case, it seems both are shrinking. So it makes sense to combine those two and deliver as many games as you can possibly for a single console, as opposed to spreading it across both, especially when it seems like the NX possibly may not get much more third-party support than what they've gone before, at least based on some of the comments we've heard from, I think EA recently and maybe another company, I can't quite fully remember. But even just based on Nintendo's history and they're lacking third-party support, it makes sense for Nintendo to go all in on this on a single device. So that alone interests me. As for all the extra details, like, a lot of them make sense, I think. Motion controls, rumble, that's all kind of obvious if there are detachable controllers. But again, we don't even know if that's true, so if they're detachable. I just want to know what this is. And going by the original rumor, we should be finding out in September, but at the same time, if they are going to have like a corresponding press event, they need to start inviting people pretty soon to this. We're almost in September, which means if there is to be a September event, we have to find out, I would say, within the next 2 weeks. So I'm really hoping we do find out soon.
I'm kind of starting to think it's just going to be a direct. Like, I kind of am starting to think it's not going to be an actual event, and it really is just going to be a direct for everybody.
It very well could be.
Or some sort of of digital streamed event. It doesn't have to be called direct, but I feel like I'm starting to think it's not going to be a big press release, or press event. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that could be. Although if it's coming out in March, they are going to have to get some hands-on impressions out there at some point. But it doesn't have to happen at the same time as the unveiling. That could happen in October, November, or even early next year. So, yeah, you're right.
Can you imagine having to wait till early next year to find out any... Well, no, I think Nintendo's already gone on record several times stating that we're going to get a formal unveiling of the NX.
We'll find out what it is for sure this year. It's just it's just a question of when we'll get a hands-on time with it as press, or even the public, if they'll have any public
events. Even if we will.
For it.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Alright, I think that about wraps up for us here, guys. So thanks for watching. If you liked our discussion, make sure to like and follow us on Facebook and Twitter at GameXplain. You can find links to them in the description below. It's a good way to keep updated on everything we post. And of course, keep an eye on GameXplain for lots more on the NX. Again, hopefully soon, and other things gaming as well. Catch you guys later. Bye.